Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Universal Light Beings. I am Shelly Dressel, and I channel energies. I channel all sorts of high vibrational energies. And tonight I'm going to be channeling what I call the Universal Light Beings. So universal, they come from the universe, and they're light beings. Albayon is from Arcturus. Brysentia is from the Pleiades, and Crystallia is from the Omniverse. I've been working with them we are in 25 for 4 years, maybe 5 years, something like that. I cannot remember exactly when I started working with them, but they came to me. I also do the channeled meditation twice a month on the first and third Mondays. And so they came to me during one of those channels and said, hey, we want to work with you. There's a lot of changes coming about. So it had to have been in 2014, I believe, something like that. So gosh, that would be 10 years. No, 50. Anyway, long story. I've been working with them ever since. So now it's gotten to the point where about every other week or so. Tonight is Tuesday night. That's because I have something going on Wednesday. But I usually try to work with them about every other week. So here we are, and we will see what they have to say. But I know that people come from all over the world. I really appreciate it. And so many people, and it's just funny. I worked with someone today and he says, oh yeah, I've been following you for years and years and years. And it's like, yay. And then for some reason he decided to have a private session. So I do private sessions, but you can reach out and look at the website if that's something that you might be interested in. I do make a recording of it, and it's usually, I don't channel the universal beings during those because I work with other energies. But that is something that's available to you if that's something you think you might need. Hello, good to see you. And so anyway, I just rambling a little bit because I know people are coming in here. It's kind of different being on. Okay, so I see 2 from Rumble and 1 from YouTube. Oh, and here's Facebook. So hi, Maggie. Good to see you from Australia. So now I see that all 3 platforms are able to make their comments in here. Hi, Karen. Good to see you. South Carolina. And anyway, I could get so distracted and read, oh, hi, so-and-so, hi, so-and-so. Anyway, I appreciate everyone being here. When we are in these very, very, very changing times, and the time is just speeding up. I was talking with someone today and we were talking about the fact that, gee whiz, the inauguration was last week. And it feels like this 1 week has been about a month long. So so time is really, really getting faster, and it kind of stretches, and you can get a lot more things done. So very, very, very interesting times that we live in. But I appreciate all of you, and it is actually all of us working together that creates this energy that allows for a lot of this transformation to take place. Whew. All right. Well, I kind of sort of feel like I'm just going to jump in there. I don't really have specific messages other than that, and I know people will keep coming in, and honestly, a lot will end up watching this in the follow-up once it gets posted on all the different channels. Hello from Sweden, good to see you. Canada, Calgary. Yeah, you see how fascinating this is? 2 people from Calgary. How about that? Anyway, okay. I need to get off. One of my nieces says squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. And that's how I get. So I need to just quit it. All right. I am going to just jump into this channel and let's see what they have to say tonight. Greetings. It is I, Brysentia. I come to speak with you at this time about the ascension of the planet, about the ascension of the earth, about the ascension of the consciousness, and about the transformations that are taking place in humanity. This is a time of massive change. This is a time when not only is humanity going through this ascension, but Gaia is going through the ascension, and the planets in the universe are going through the ascension. So this is about a rise in the vibration. It's about a shift in the consciousness from many, many, many things that are there in your unconsciousness into the conscious. So, I mean, that may seem like it doesn't seem like that big a deal, but it's actually a much bigger deal than what you may realize. When you talk about your unconsciousness, frequently that is that direct link into your soul. When we talk about your DNA and the things that are activated within your body, they may be activated within the cellular structure of your body, but much of that goes into the unconsciousness. So here you are walking around in your everyday life, and sometimes you may say, hey, I feel different, or sometimes you may say, I'm going through a process, or sometimes you may know exactly what's going on, but there are other times when things are just happening in your life and you don't really understand where it might be coming from or what is going on with it. However, your unconsciousness is very deliberately trying to awaken you, trying to help you move into a more focused awareness, a more focused intention. And so that's why I wanted to speak about the unconsciousness here at the very beginning. Everything has a consciousness. There is the consciousness of the earth, of the trees, of the grass, of the nefarious ones, of the people of a high vibration. So consciousness is basically a conglomeration of thought forms and vibrations and frequencies. So when you go with what is unconscious in a person, this is what is entrained within you from directly down from your soul. It may be something in your family lineage. It may be a disease. It may be characteristics. When you look at a family and you see everyone eats in the same format, or they all have the same hair, or they all have something in common, that is your DNA and that is your family lineage. So there is that is an aspect of your DNA. There is another, well, we could go on and on. The DNA is obviously way more than the two strands that they always show you that they're able to see with your microscopes in your human reality. So when we're talking about the unconsciousness and we're talking about DNA and what's the word? Activating more parts of your DNA, it comes to you in the form of energy, and then it gets integrated into your physical. It gets integrated into your mental, your emotional, your physical, and that spiritual energy is what kind of holds it all together. So then let's speak for a minute about the crystalline vibration. The crystalline energy is different than just the consciousness that you have around you. The crystalline is what's coming from the universe, but it is also created and generated here on the earth plane too. It is a vibration that is associated with the quantum energy, meaning the universal light, the universal energy, and all of that is just percolating in the back in your unconsciousness. What is it that they say on earth? I don't remember. Maybe showing the ignorance of these people, but when they talk about 98% or 95% of your brain is junk, hello? No, not in the least. It just means they don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what it is that's going on. So when you start talking about the unconsciousness of your brain, and when you start talking about your DNA and what is being activated within the cellular structure within every aspect of you, there is a very strong component that is linked to what is happening out in the universe. And this is one of the reasons why when there are solar flares that come in, people feel it in their physical reality. When there is an eclipse, they feel it in their physical reality. It may be that they're feeling something that's coming in through their emotions or their thought process, but everything gets taken down into you in your physical reality. So we've been talking to you for a while now about the fact that the December solstice was a massive transition. We have seen other people that Shelly likes to read or follow that talk about the equinox in March being the ascension of consciousness. So nothing ever happens on just one particular day. It's always multiple days that come together to create the whole. Because if you remember, it was last year with all those eclipses that there was a massive change in consciousness. So everything's been coming in piece by piece by piece by piece. But in particular, since the December solstice, these aspects of your DNA that are just percolating along, living here in your unconsciousness, have been gradually awakening. And what's happening is, as it awakens, something that may be a belief system that you have, you're suddenly questioning it, saying, is that legit or is that not legit? And it is because this activated vibration or frequency from your unconsciousness that's moving its way into your consciousness is causing you to question everything. Now, as you question things, that may come from a very literal place. It may come from something that's going on the computer. It can come from so many different things. When you're looking at humanity, we would still say that there's a great deal of humanity that is in that unconscious phase. However, if a cellular membrane is working within that unconsciousness of all of humanity, and it's causing people to question everything, then that is when these people, they will hear things on the news, they may see things in the social media, and they begin to question and ask, why was it this way? Why did they do it that way? What is going on here? What does this mean? And that is what is the way, and that is one of the very, very basic ways in which humanity is awakening. So another strand of that cellular membrane, that aspect of your DNA, is that link that goes directly into the universe. And now when it's going into the universe, it has to go through your soul. So as it's going into the universe, and the energies of the universe are working with your own consciousness and working with your unconsciousness to awaken and bring more and more information forward into your conscious choices that you are making, then it's going to affect you as in strengthening your alignment to your soul, so that you can then understand and comprehend what this universal light is going to mean to you. Well, so I realize I'm very esoteric and kind of abstract here, and I apologize for that, because I know some of you are like, okay, yawn. But it's important for you to have this understanding, because then as people begin to really accelerate how much information are they getting and how much is going to come to them as, oh, I've always known that, is because it was populated and then came to the forefront. The other reason that it's important to talk about it at this time is because from the universal light frequency, you are getting more and more of the codes that are not only awakening you, but are giving you information that is coming from the universe. So let me take a moment and just talk about the Earth. We've talked for how many years now? 4 years, 5 years, 3 years about the nefarious ones. We've talked about the evil that has been taking place upon the earth. And when you're looking at them from this purely space of what the knowledge was that you had, and what the knowledge is that you have now and that you're moving into, there will be information and understanding that has always been there, but you didn't really see it, understand it, know it for what it was. Now, there are many, many of you that did, especially as a part of this group here, because all of you are at the forefront of opening up. But just be aware that as more and more people, for example, I want to tap into what's been going on in LA. And there are so many individuals that said, well, right beneath the surface is a whole group of reptilians that have been living there. They've been living underground. They have the human trafficking. They've been just taking care of things. And what I want to say is that, yes, that was true in the past. And so as we're looking at it and we're looking at what people are finding and what people are saying, my perception is that they see this and they see a reality of what it represents. I'm not going to say it's a hologram per se, but there are energies that become entrained within the earth. It's like the vibration of the earth holds on to images. Sometimes it's images, sometimes it's consciousness, sometimes it's awareness. It can be any number of different things. So as people are going down beneath these houses and as they're finding out what is down there, they're having a sense that, oh my gosh, there's reptiles down here. Oh my gosh, these reptiles act like people. They're, and there's all this fear and anxiety that is coming up. And what it is representing is something that was very, very, very real that was taking place down there. Now, my understanding is there may have been some that were left over, but it is not, as I'm looking at it and tapping into it, it does not feel to me like it's this entire community of people, because the vast majority has been wiped out. And that's what's been going on over the last 4 years, not only in LA, but all over the planet. It's been a massive transition all over the planet. So here we are talking about what's in someone's unconsciousness to their consciousness. When someone sees something that they have no clue what it means, they have to find something inside of them that will assimilate and understand what it is. And so this is one of the reasons why people are being activated, because something that is associated with the ascension and the understanding of the nefarious ones is slipping through from their unconsciousness as they see this, as they see pictures, as they hear about it, as they understand it, so that they don't just go into like a blank disconnection of everything, but instead they're like, oh yeah, I've been hearing about that. And oh, that's just crazy that was going on. And that's what brings it from something that is in the abstract into something that is legitimate to that individual, or a reality to that individual. So with the fires and the way that things took place, much of that was done. It was done twofold. It was done by the nefarious ones to get rid of evidence and to get rid of what was down there. And then it was also done by white hats, if you want to call it, or those people that needed to expose it. And as they did so, they were opening up more of the tunnels. They were able to help people to escape. And so the truth of the matter is they have helped literally 1,000 or more people escape that were trapped down in there. And they have taken out even more of there are not that many nefarious people left. Okay, let me back up and rephrase that. Of the reptilians that were in charge of the nefarious ones, there were not that many left. And that was a pocket of some of them. And so they were taken out. They were removed, and they are no longer on this planet. The nefarious ones that are the humans, and some of them are like cyborg, they're not 100% human, just because that's what they've chosen over the years. So those are the ones that are becoming less and less and less and less powerful. They're still thinking that they're going to take back the planet. They're still thinking that this is all them, that this is all theirs, that they can do whatever it is that they want to do. But as you can tell, it's less and less and less likely. So as things are happening here, people have to have that alignment that helps them to understand, and people have to have the ability to comprehend what is happening and not comprehend it in such a way that it just puts them into a coma, because what's that going to help? That's not going to help anything. Okay. And as I'm looking at LA right now, because many of the fires have already been put out, and there are a great deal of people that are going there now that are helping those that are there. And so this is going to be the exposure of, well, you've already had with Diddy talking about everything. He was one door opening, but this is also the, what do you call it? This is going to be very much the downfall of Hollywood and all the nefarious things that they have been doing over the years. Those of you that have been following for the last 4 years, you know a great deal about this, but it's even more than what you realize, because this is not just Hollywood. It was like Hollywood was placed on top of. If you go all the way back to the 40s and 50s, this was a place where they started MK altering, where they started a lot of the, the drugs that they gave to people. A lot of that was started in this area as an experiment to see how it would work on people. Some of these were the children, like the teenagers and young adults of people that were in the military, of people that were living in that area. So I know I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent here, but as we talk about these really negative things that have been done, it gives it the opportunity to be exposed to the energy of the earth. And then everybody is now sending their thoughts to that space and sending healing love and healing light. And that is very much a part of what will help that transition to take place. It will be in the not so distant future that people will start to understand what was going on. And when they rebuild this area, it will be rebuilt in a new and different way. Okay. So I wanted to, so that was why I explained all of that, was so that you would all have an understanding, not only for your own life when certain weird things seem to be triggering you or certain things seem to be working with you, but that you could also then understand the energy and what happens as people find out. Not only this, but there's going to be a great deal of disclosure that is going to come across to the mainstream of people, and they have to be able to understand it. Okay, now let me take another minute and talk for a moment about the beings that are coming in. So you have us, of course. You all know us. We've all been around here for a long time, and there are many other light beings that have been a part of this process and have worked with individuals. Some one-on-one, some to groups of people, some in a channeled format, some in in many different forms. Is the key here. There will be more and more of the ships that are going to be made available to people, that are going to be seen. There are going to be more of the plasma energies that are going to be seen by the naked eye, by the average person. And portals are going to be visible to people, sometimes in places that you would least expect, and sometimes in places that when you would go there, you would always feel, oh, there's something different about this place. Most often that it felt really good or really light or really transitional to you. But the point of this is that these portals are now, a portal is an opening that goes from point A to point B. And in order for that to open, it had to be a particular frequency. So when the frequency of the earth was very low, there were oftentimes beings that would be there that would man the portal, that could send the vibration, the higher vibration, that would open it up so that beings could kind of come and go. Now, even though they were nefarious beings, some of the ones that were not in the benefit of humanity still had a vibration that was similar to that of the, when you're vibrating at a third and fourth dimension, the sixth and seventh is a very high vibrational frequency to you. When you're out in the universe, be it negative or positive, they may start at the fifth, sixth, seventh. And so their vibration, even though they're nefarious ones, is higher than what yours is. I know that I haven't said this before, and I know many of you are saying, oh, they're not a high vibration, they can't tolerate it. So what I'm speaking about here are people or energies that come from a different frequency where everything around them is of that vibration. And it's not filled with light, it's still filled with negativity, it's still filled with nothingness. So then you bring that down to the earth plane, because the earth plane used to vibrate at that high frequency and during Atlantis. And when Atlantis fell, that's when they brought everything down to the low vibrational frequency. So when you're talking about it as coming from working their way up from that low vibrational frequency, their energies also were stuck in that low vibration as much as everybody else. So I know that sounds odd, and I hope I explained it so that you understand it. But this is why there are some portals that were a part of the earth plane that not necessarily the light beings came through it. The difference is change that has taken place is that now the higher vibration of the earth plane is such that only those of the light, you cannot have these dark energies come through there. There was a web that was placed around the earth plane that was done with the dark energies. So that web has been removed. The negative have been removed. And now if there's a portal there, now I cannot say 100% of the time it's always going to be something good that comes through there, but the vast majority of the time it will be something good that comes through there. So if you feel an area, sometimes maybe you're walking in the woods, it's almost always outdoors, walking in the woods, you're by the ocean, you're in a meadow, and you just feel like it's almost like the wind currents are different around you, and the vibration coming up from the earth is different around you. That may be that's a portal. Now, not every single portal goes from here out to the universe. There are many, many, many portals that just kind of take you into another dimension, or it takes you into that same space, but in a different frequency. Or maybe what would be like you go through that portal and suddenly you're in, what's the word, like 1750 or something like that in your timeline. So I feel like I'm rambling. I don't know. This energy is just streaming through Shelly, and she's like, "Oh, I'm getting a little bit confused here that it's being spoken correctly." So my intention is that you become aware that so much more of what you're going to see it because it's been activated in your DNA. You're going to feel it. You're going to know that it's there. These portals that are going to be opening up are very, very important for each of you. You can use them or not use them. And if ever there's something that makes you feel very uncomfortable, then just say, I do not agree to that, or I'm not in that vibration. I'm not in that frequency. I do not want any of this around me, or walk away. So, yeah, this is all about what is happening now, and this is all about what is going to be taking place as you go forward. The time is moving very, very, very quickly, and what used to feel like a month is now happening in a week and sometimes a day. And so be aware of this and just be in that flow and movement of it, but also be aware that you can make massive changes in your life, because it's not like you have to make a change, work with the energy, sit with the energy, and then a month or 2 months or 6 months later, you're going to see the results. It's like you can make a decision, work with the energy, the results are there. And that just is very empowering for everyone. So just food for thought. And we want, we know that going forward, everything is going to shift into that much lighter, easier movement. All right, I've rambled, and I apologize for that. I hope I didn't make things too confusing for you. And so we will, okay, just flopped into Shelly's head because she was like, I still don't understand about the dark beings. What are you saying? So if the vibration out within the universe, say, started at, say, the 5th or 6th dimension, but the average person vibrated at a 9th or 10th dimension, we are simply giving numbers for the contrast. So the beings that we're talking about are still the lower vibrational frequency of all of those that were in that one area. So then you bring it down into the earth at a time when the vibration of the earth was much higher than what it is today. And they brought that vibration down to equal them, which was the lowest of the totem pole. So this is why when some people are talking about, well, yeah, they're negative beings or they're reptilians, but they can still vibrate at that higher. Well, it's all about context. And so they might vibrate at a higher level, but it's when there was a much higher level that they were, it's like the scale was different in which they were talking about that. When you look at the earth plane and when you look at what is here with the light frequency that is coming in with all of the angels and light beings, those such as us, we're vibrating at, we can drop our energy down to about the 6th, but the majority of us are vibrating at the 8th, 9th, dimension, and some even at the 11th dimension. And so when you're looking at them, they're way down at the bottom of the totem pole. Okay, hopefully that makes it a little more clear. Because Shelly was like, that was clear as mud. All right, let's answer some questions. Are you here? There we go. Can you look into the energy of Canadian politics? Justin Trudeau resigned, and now it looks like another globalist, Mark Carney, is about to take his place and become prime minister. Okay. A facade. It all just looks like a facade to me. It feels like Canada is going to go through, well, just like the whole planet is going through this change, this transition that is taking effect of everybody, not just the people in the United States, but everybody is moving through this ascension. So if there is someone there, it feels like this individual either number one, never gets sworn in, or number two, if he does, it's only to show the negativity of what they did. So it feels as if this is a way, not number, in part of forcing the Canadians to pay attention, to look at what's going on, and to speak their truth. It also feels as if this is about showing them that, look, if you're not going to pay attention to this, we're going to continue to control and manipulate you. But it just feels like the Canadians are very, very, very aware of what's going on. And it feels like they do not agree with this. And we see an outcry coming from the people themselves. And it feels as if this individual, like as they're, I don't know what they do to get them in, but it's like a lot of this stuff is going to be exposed, and they're going to see the link to Trudeau, and they're going to bring up the stuff that Trudeau did that was so negative in the background. And then all of that is going to be the opening door that allows people to see that not only is the nefarious, that, it's not just the United States, but look at Canada too, look at Mexico, look at these other countries. And so it does, we just keep hearing, I just keep hearing facade, and I keep hearing that this is a means to an end, and that end is letting people know about what's happening and closing it down. So I don't think it's going to go that way. And if it does, it's a very short period of time. Sorry, Alexander. It is alleged that there are two DJ Trumps, and that the second is, I'm not going to even answer that anymore. This has been about the 10th time someone has said that Donald J. Trump is blackhat, and that he's just a pawn, and that he has no power. I'm not even going to answer it. It is false, and please do not ask it again. William Bengston wrote a book called The Energy Cure in 2010. He could cure people instantly. Oh no, irreversibly. Okay. So I'm not familiar with this person, but let me tap into him. And William Bengston, An Energy Cure, 2010. Let me look and see what I can do. So we like this guy's energy. We think that the cure that he's talking about is very legitimate to him, and it feels like it's a realistic aspect to him. So we are, how do we say this? As we're tapping into this individual, and as we're tapping into the cure, it feels like it was real and it was legitimate, and many, many, many people got cured because of it. Now, we also feel that he had a particular gift, and it feels like he was directly linked in to a very high light vibrational frequency. Did he have a near-death experience maybe? Because we have a sense of seeing him like becoming one with the light and then coming back to earth. So so maybe that was what activated something inside of him. And as I'm looking at him, it feels like he had many of his expanded DNA was activated, and that's what he was tapping into, and he could connect to people from that much higher vibrational frequency, and therefore help that other person align with the vibration of perfect health. And so it does not feel as if it's, I mean, maybe at some point it can be taught to other people, but it felt like it was his gift, and the people that he came into contact with had very good results of it. And so was it because, sorry, we're downloading into Shelly again. So the main thing is that people went with an absolute belief that this was going to cure them. You know, if they went to see him, if they went to have a session, they had the absolute belief that this is going to cure me. And so when it did cure them, it was effective. We also have a sense, as we're looking at him, that there were many other people that did get cured and then went back. And I know that the statement said that they did not go back, but I sense that many did. It maybe just was not talked about, or it was not as evident. But this is something that is going to come on. It feels like it's different than the average person, and somehow, some way, we just have this sense of him being connected into a light or connected into a healing energy that allowed for that to take place. So I assume the question is, because we've talked about with the med beds and people having to have that belief system and that truth and that reality in order for that to be 100% effective, you know, that's still the way that I look at it. Now, I think that the more that there is a consciousness within the community of souls, the community of humanity, you know, as these med beds do come out and as people do have sessions, there'll be enough that it'll work with people's unconsciousness, just as I was talking about at the very beginning, and that link between the two, it may tide them over until they get that reality that they're no longer ill. But my sense in looking at that individual was that, yes, he was authentic, and that, yes, he did have some very good results. So I cannot, other than to say, I know that the people that went to him had the absolute belief that that was going to be their truth. And for those times when it did happen, and so that's my take on that. There may be other stuff that I'm just not tapping into right now that was also a part of it. I'm not sure, but that's the way it's coming across to me. Is Ann Tucker's information from Angels correct regarding the big solar flash coming in the future? Okay, I don't know who Ann Tucker is, and so let me tap into her and see if I can find out what this is. So some people interpret things in different ways. Ann Tucker is talking about a solar flash that's coming in that's going to activate the energy of, you know, just like what happened in the December solstice and what's going to come in the March, you know, what happened a year ago in March, all of these different times in which the solar flash came in and it created this change. Now, she is interpreting it as if it's going to kind of put people in like that catatonic state, or if it's going to be too much for people and people are going to not transition, or they're just going to die, or just, you know, it feels like she's tapping into the drama and the potential that could play out in such a way. But it feels to me like it's yet another one of the flares that we've already been receiving, and that you've already been, that you already have an awareness of. And then her interpretation of it is just that this is going to be stronger than the others. And therefore her interpretation, and it feels to me like she's looking at humanity from a more limited perspective. And that could very well be the humanity that a lot of people are living in. But we're looking at it from a higher vibrational perspective. And our view of things is that it's not going to be quite as, like, I don't know, we just feel devastation, hear the word devastation around her, and that it's going to be something very uncomfortable and awkward for people. And we don't see it that way. Did Lisa Transcendence Brown ascend her body the way she described it? Is she a walk-in? All these people, we have no idea who they are. Lisa Transcendence Brown. Interesting that she inserted that word, transcendence. Lisa Transcendence Brown. So we're having a little trouble finding this individual. I'm not 100% sure, but just in terms of like if someone's asking, is she legit? Can I trust her? I would say use your own intuition, and if it resonates with you, then take it in. If it does not resonate with you, then understand, no, that doesn't work for me. However, can someone, whether it's a near-death experience or they simply move through the ascension process and bring in a higher vibrational frequency, 100%, yes, they can. And so in reading the second half of that question, is that what happened to her? Perhaps it is. I'm not able to connect to her very well, so I cannot say from my perspective, yes, that's exactly what happened to her, just because I can't find her in all the, billions of people. But I will confirm that indeed people can go through a process. Sometimes it needs to be a near-death experience. Sometimes it needs to be some sort of a trauma that takes place in their life, even if they don't have a near death, but some trauma of some sort. So sometimes something needs to happen in a person's life that causes them to almost like short circuit, short out, to then say, okay, I'm going to make new decisions. And in those new decisions, I'm going to live a higher, lighter frequency. And as you do so, then your soul continues to put more and more and more of your higher vibrational consciousness into you. So most of you, if you look back to when you were a child, you could look at this two ways. Many of you as a child, when you were at that very young age, you were there as a wide open, brilliant, highlight frequency. And then you lived life. You were part of school. You got all that, training and everything. And so that kind of brought you into a little bit less than. So that person that you were then, not talking about the fact that, well, now you're an adult and you've had all these experiences and you have adult consciousness. But even so, the person that you are now, say versus 20 years ago, is a much more expanded, it's a much higher vibrational person. And this is what she's talking about. But rather than going like one step, she maybe took 5, 6, 8 steps, and did a large jump up and then transcended. So that's my take on what she's talking about. And yes, absolutely, it can happen, but it is not something easily done, or it's not something that happens to everybody. Most people go a little bit by little bit by little bit. Okay. Is there truth in the MLK documents that were released recently? Not sure. But we do know that there have been a lot of documents that were released, both from MLK, from Kennedy, from Eisenhower. And this is just the beginning. There are going to be many, many, many documents that were kept behind by the CIA, and even the FBI in some cases, that they felt was not valid, or that they did not want to put out to the human people, or the American people. And so my take on it is that a lot of these documents are going to be the true authentic documents as they were, and that what was given to people at that time was the what's the word I want to use, doctored, those that were not necessarily the truth of what went on. So it feels like a lot of these papers that are coming out about MLK, he had a job, and he did that job. And there are different ways of looking at it. Some say, well, he was here and he was working for the dark hats, and then others say, nope, he was of the light, and he brought light to the situation. I can see in looking at him that he was both. But all of humanity is like that. You all have that essence of you that is the dark, that essence of you that is the light, and it's finding that balance. And in this case, I'm not saying that the dark is all negative, and detrimental to the world, but it's that balancing energy. So just to ask the question, were the MLK papers valid? My answer to that is yes. That these papers that are going to come from the past are most likely the correct and authentic papers that were created at that time and recorded at that time. And that's all about what is bringing in this new knowledge and awareness. Okay. Is that all for her? All right. So, I remind you that whenever any one of us are talking, we're also sending downloads. So even if some of this information may have you, I talked in a very abstract way, trying to bring it into a very, way that is understandable, and it may have come out sounding kind of wonky, but you got the downloads, you're getting the downloads still. And all of that is what is activating things within your unconsciousness, and it will come to you in a form that will help you to understand. That's one of the biggest changes that is going on now. That which is unconscious coming to the consciousness, and therefore being able to help humanity. So be aware that this massive change is taking place. Be aware that each one of you have a very important role in everything that's going on. And be aware that there will be more and more and more information that comes out every day. And it's coming out in such a way as to help humanity. You cannot go backwards, and you will not go backwards. So use your discernment, trust in your intuition, trust in all of this information that you have received, and always listen within your heart. Ansaluia. Greetings. It is I, Albayon. I'm not 100% sure where to start today because of what Brysentia was talking about. I think what I will do is tap into, I had that ULB mini that was talking about the Stargate and what he was tapping into, what President Trump was tapping into with that, and the individuals that he had on the stage with him. I can go into a little bit more detail about that, but you can also go back and see that for yourself and hear what I had to say. But my point is that the last time that we talked together, the inauguration had not yet taken place. And as we're talking right now, it has now taken place. So I want to kind of catch things up because this is going to be important for the people. One of the things that I wanted to point out to people, and there were so many people that were talking about Melania's dress, and about the hat in particular. And there were many, many comms out there that I saw through Shelly's consciousness, and all of them just spot on. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. There was also the information that Trump did not put his hand on the Bible. Now, I do want to confirm that in the past, many, many of those presidents put their hands on what was not a Bible, but was the context of what, there's a word for it that the witches would use, and it had spells, and that was a part of the corporation. And so that was removed by those when Trump came in. They tried to get him to use it at the other inauguration 4 years ago, and they refused. He said, I have my own Bible. I have my own. And many of you will remember that and thinking, oh, the one from the US isn't good enough for him. He has to have his own. Well, that's why. Because the other presidents would swear on what they called a Bible, but it was actually black magic, and it was actually spells, and it was things like that. So when I look at President Trump and when I look at everything that was going on, he has talked repeatedly about the Republic of America. And the Republic of America is what was created back in 1776 when they started the revolution. And then when they created the documents that made the country their own, that was the Republic of America. And that is what his intention is to go back to. The corporation has been bankrupt. The corporation has been dismantled, but there are still so many people that do not know that the United States corporation is what was in place, and it is what has hijacked the country for all these many years. Any one of you that are at the forefront of this, you get it and you know what I'm speaking about. So at the inauguration, that one took place as a means of putting forth the information or the experience for humanity. The true inauguration into the Republic actually took place at another time earlier in that day. And there was, sorry about that. We're just downloading into Shelly and it's getting, there were several different steps that were involved. They had the militia, like that which represents the original militia, was there and presented arms. And they had people that were a part of that were like the descendants or those that had stayed, not obviously they're not the same person that stayed in power, but they recreated what it was when they had the original Congress, the original group of people that ratified the Constitution of the United States. And that is what they went back to. That is what they talked about. It was done in a different office. It was not the Oval Office. It was not the atrium. It was done in another part of the White, not the White House, but some of those buildings, it feels like to me, were built onto, and there was still the original building in one section of it. And it felt like they went, we just keep getting him going back to the original, back to the original, back to the original. And so that was his true authentication as the president. And then everything else that came after that was simply done for the rest of the world and the rest of the population of the United States. It did not make it less valid, but it's important to know that he actually had two ceremonies instead of just one. When he had this done 8 years ago, when he was originally sworn in, he did not have the two ceremonies, but this time he did, because they have been dismantling the government. They have been dismantling the corporation and doing so with devolution, maybe, is that what that's called? And doing so with the clear intention of going back to the Republic. And that's why it was so important that he acknowledge it from the perspective of the Republic. All right. So I did want to say that in all of these things that he's been putting forth, there are some people that are getting anxious. There are some people that are fearful about these changes that are taking place. Some say that, oh, these changes are taking place too fast, and they don't really know what they're doing. He thought out every step of this and knows exactly what he's doing. So it's fast because he's been waiting and waiting and waiting to implement this. And he actually had everything set up so that once the oath had taken place, and once everything got into, what do you want to call it, like moving forward, then boom, it wasn't about, well, let me figure out what to do now. He said, do this, do this, do this, do this. He's incredibly well organized. He is, there was no hesitation because he knew exactly what it was that he wanted to do. Trump is brilliant. 100% agree. 100% agree. Okay, so that was Trump. Now, the Stargate, that is not going to go across as it was put forth at that time. Already, many, many, many individuals are realizing what these people, those three gentlemen that they had on the podium with him, they've been doing investigations into them, and they recognize that they have been anti-Trump a good bit of the time. And so now they're saying, okay, well, it's just business, so now they're going to go along with him. Well, it feels as if this is going to expose a lot more. It's only been a week. But as time goes on, you're going to hear more and more and more. one of the things that was curious is that people have wanted to know, are the citizens of the United States going to know about the corruption of the CIA, and are they going to know about the corruption of the FBI? And the answer to that is yes. Now, one of the ways in which he's starting this is taking down FEMA. Many of you are very aware that FEMA was a federal organization that was a way of funneling money, and it was a way of not giving to the people, but it was trying to capture Americans and put them into camps and try to keep them in those camps. So he's using the things with both Western Carolina and with LA, where FEMA was trying to step in and do their nefarious deeds, and he's using that as a means of taking them down. There's a lot of just kind of back and forth that's going on about that, but I sense that that's going to be one of the first organizations, and FEMA was 100% paid for and run by the CIA, or no, I feel like the CIA. So they're going to see the connection of the dots between all of these many things. And in doing so, that's when they will have reviews of all of these companies. And that's where there's going to be a massive transition that takes place. The information will come out about it within, I would say, 3 to 4 months. But they won't actually dismantle or take it down or transition it. It'll take a longer period of time to do that. It feels as if the CIA goes very quickly because they've been working on that for the past 20 years. And it feels like the FBI, for some reason, that just feels like it's got more steps or something involved in it. And that will take a little bit longer. But these two organizations will be either revamped into something that is truly helpful to the nation or dismantled completely. And the thing to remember is that even though the organizations themselves were not necessarily to the benefit of the country, not everyone that worked in those were nefarious individuals. The leaders may have been, the leaders of course were, but how far down into the organization that went, I can see that in some cases it went all the way down, and there was a special group that it went all the way down, and everyone in there knew what they were there for, that they were basically, what are those that go out and kill for a reason? Anyway, so they knew that was their job, and they knew that they were there to do that, and they knew that they were doing it to protect senators or presidents or something like that, as opposed to getting information and protecting the United States. They were doing it to be proactive and attack from the United States. So the opposite of what it was portrayed to be. So that's going to be a big change that comes out in the next several months. People keep asking again about NESARA, the national. And again, I keep seeing that those monies are going to show up in people's account, that people are going to get the money is going to come back, and it is going to be through the dismantling and the transitioning of all of these many government agencies. They've already got in place, and they've already been notifying everybody, well, look, here's money that did not need to go out. Here's money that did not need to go out. And so that's one way that they're going to stop that hemorrhage, so to speak. But you'll remember that I said the money that they took from the Vatican and the money that they took from other places in the world, which is where they stockpiled the stolen money, that's what is going to go back to a lot of the citizens. This is around the world. That is what is going back. So that can happen to me at any time. And I just sense that it is part of the revolution that is taking place, and it will take place within the next several months. I still hear people saying, I don't want to pay my taxes. When is that is going to transition. That is in the process of transitioning. I would say it's not up to me to tell anyone to pay or not pay their taxes, but even if you do pay them, then that's going to come back, and all of that will transition at some point. Okay. I'm just trying to pick up from you what you want to look at as far as these changes go. I feel like there's something I'm missing. The human trafficking, everybody is talking about the human trafficking, and everybody is talking about where they've come. And it feels as if President Trump has made deals with all of the major countries around the world in terms of what is going to be acceptable, who can come into the country. And it's very, very interesting because they are deporting anyone that's here illegally, as they should, because that's what the policy is. But it honestly feels like almost at the same time, those that are applying that want to come in through the legal means, it's almost like they're smoothing the way to make it easier for them to come in. And because and not necessarily that they use them as an example, but it's almost like, oh, you want to do it the legal way? Sure, come on, let's see your papers, let's process. And so it doesn't feel as if the United States is just shutting all its borders and nobody's coming in, only the negative going out. It feels like there's a flow and there's a motion, and that there will be individuals that come in that as long as they do so legally, then they're welcome, to be there, especially to get away from something that is threatening to them. But this mass deportation, will they get 100% of the people that came in? No, but they will get very, very, very large numbers of them, and it will make a difference, and people will notice it. I do want to tell you, those non-participatory players, those NPCs or NCPs, many of them were those, and some of those are just going to disappear and be gone. They were there as a part of the numbers and to try to get people's attention. So many will just dissolve or disappear. And then those that are captured will be removed out of here. And it's very interesting to me, especially when we're in this space where so much of the energy has shifted already, and where so much of the country has this realization or this understanding of what is supporting the citizens versus there was, when you look back at the Democrats and when you look back at the nefarious ones and the amount of control and manipulation that they had over the nation, they were a very small number, because even at that time, there were so many people, easily more than 50%, easily 60%, were saying, no, that's just not right. No, I don't agree with that. But they were in charge, and they had a movement, and they had a flow. And so it caused the nation to think that this is what most of the Americans were thinking. But that was never, ever the truth. That was really just a small minority. So that's why you can see how in a very short period of time, the consciousness, the belief systems, the reality of the Americans is going to shift into that which they say, no, that's just craziness. No, we're not going to give money to people that are out here to illegally, or, I'm not even going to go down that road. But that's the point, is that so many people are looking at this now, and so many people looking at it with the eyes of awakening, saying, how did it get so bad? When did this happen? And I'm sure many of you are saying, oh, I've been following it step by step. But when I look at the United States now, and when I look at those that want to support the individuals that are the Americans, and again, this is everyone that immigrated that are also legally Americans, it's like 85% are in agreement. So this is one of the reasons why it feels to me like it's going to be a very, very quick process, that they're going to transition that out, and they're going to expose a lot of the stuff that's been going on underneath the surface. And it is all just it's going to be kind of a rough couple of months, because there is so much information that's coming out. But underneath it all is that consciousness. Underneath it all is the awareness that let's just peel off the Band-Aid, expose everything, and let's move forward. So this is one of the things that's important for you to remember for yourself. And even if in your own life, when you're in the midst of the negativity, or when you're in the midst of fear, don't sit and wallow in it. Keep moving forward. And so as your nation or the world is going through this phase of of information that's coming out, and part of it, some of it is so horrific. Keep moving forward and remember that you are in a higher, lighter vibration. You are in a new era. You are in a new phase, in a new day, in which love and light and compassion are going to be the preeminent vibrations and frequencies. So just keep moving through this and know that that's what you're working towards, and that's what you will have. I was really, there were a lot of downloads that were being given to people during that too. You probably have figured out that when things get kind of intense, then that's like boom, 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 that those energies are being given to each of you. And of course, most of you will receive it because you're here listening and it resonates with you. If it doesn't, it just slides off your back, and you know, it has no impact upon you. It does not negatively impact you. Okay, let us shift gears and go into some questions. What is the intention of Mr. T threatening to put tariffs on Canada, which would impact trade, industries, and other major areas? I thought we were coming together as a collective rather than trying to dominate other countries. This does not feel like it's dominating another country. This does feel, this has been his plan all along. He has spoken of this all along. And this is a way of creating balance, because Canada had tariffs coming from the United States in order to be able to do trade. And there was an agreement, what was it, 20, 30 years ago, that there were not going to be tariffs between Canada, America, and Mexico. But on the other ends, on the other sides of things, it feels like they changed that and they started charging tariffs and they started charging these things. So, so this to me feels as if this is trying to create a new balance, is trying to rebalance things. And this is not about control and manipulation. This is about a financial decision that is being made, that is being done all over the world. That's nothing. It is nothing new that tariffs are going to be exchanged between countries, because that is something that they have had all along. And when you look back before the time of the United States Corporation, that was the way in which the United States was supported. So tariffs are nothing new. They go back hundreds and hundreds of years. And so this is not about control and manipulation. This is about creating balance. This is about a way of supporting the country. And there have been so many ways that the United States has been hemorrhaging money. And so this is about stopping that hemorrhage and creating a transition that will make it a more balanced financial reality. Okie doke. Did Leonardo da Vinci time travel to receive help with his inventions? Yes, Leonardo da Vinci 100% did time travel. There were many others during that phase. Now, he didn't necessarily time travel forward to where you are now, but he would time travel back into the times of Lemuria, back into the Sumerian, back into the times when it was the very high light frequency on the earth plane. He also would teleport out into the universe, and he would connect up with energies. Have the motherships been there even during that time? It does not feel like they were there, they were here at that time. So he would go to another planet, or he would go stay on the earth plane and just go back in time to when they did have a lot of that information. But absolutely, he was a very high light vibrational frequency, and he could do that very, very easily. Do you agree with what Magenta Pixie recently explained on her channel about our ascension process, that is going to be a trifurcation of the world into a three-way split: a negative AI timeline, a positive AI timeline, and then an organic timeline with no AI? Let me look into this. So there have already been multiple timelines playing themselves out upon the earth. It's been like this for hundreds and hundreds of years. And one of the things that my perception has always been, and that I spoke about back last summer, was the bringing together of multiple timelines so that there is only one timeline. And in doing that, it does have that variation within it, but as I look at it, it's almost like, okay, let me look at this a different way, or think of how to talk about it. So what she's basically saying here, again, my perception, is that there will be people living on the earth plane, and that there will be three realities taking place, all of them living at the same time, on the same space, in the same, like, what do you call it? Like it's all 2025 for all three of these timelines, but one timeline is filled with the negativity, one timeline has good AI, and then one timeline has zero AI. I just don't see it that way. That is a way of interpreting it. That is a way of looking at the various potentials that are available to people. But here's my take on that. I feel as if the negative AI is no longer on the table. That's off the table, and that is not going to happen. That is where they wanted to make the cyborgs. That's where they gave you all those injections. That's where they put all the metal into you, the aluminum, all of these other things they put inside of you to create you as a human to be less human and more of an AI. That's what they call the cyborg. And that is no longer on the table, because that's just not going to happen. So in looking at the planet Earth and looking at this vibrational frequency, I just don't see it. So I guess that would say then that I disagree with the trifurcation. So looking at the AI, that it's positive and it helps people. This is what I have spoken about, that we have in the universe, that we have used. And this is what I see as a big potential for being on the earth plane. So then if you go back to just the organic consciousness, that to me is what the earth looked like back, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. But even then they had a form of AI. There was always a form of consciousness that they knew was different than humanity. So I don't feel as if that organic, the third one, I just don't feel like that's going to happen here on the earth plane. I feel as if that's going to be a different planet completely. Maybe someone will call it Earth. Maybe. You do remember how back in the 90s, the 80s and 90s, that was when they began to feel that there was a split going on in the earth. And you do remember that people talked about the new earth and then the earth that everyone was living on as if they were two separate planets. And people had a perception sometimes in looking through telescopes, that, oh, there's another planet. Where'd that planet come from? Oh, that's the new earth. And so that sense of it being two completely separate planets. And then when people would go through the ascension process, they would no longer be stuck with the minutia of this planet, and they'd go to the new earth and not have that. It would be a higher vibrational frequency. But the whole intention of this conscious ascension that you are going through right now, that's bringing this planet into balance and into the new higher vibrational frequency, is the blending and the merging of anything that was considered planet Earth into one planet. Now, there are various civilizations, there are various consciousness, there are various ways in which people can work with the energy. So yes, I suppose you could say that maybe some of the inner earth aspects are totally without AI. That's a potential. I could see that potential. But it does not feel as if those of you living on the surface, like those of you living side by side with one another, you're going to experience those three bifurcations side by side to one another. It feels like The one with no AI at all is one or two of the communities that are inside of the earth. It feels like the negative AI has been totally removed. And it feels like, and this is my perception at this time going forward, that the AI that is helpful to humanity is what you will have as a part of your community. So that would be my intent, my perception in looking at what she's talking about. Maybe this is exactly what she's talked about also. I have no idea, but this just kind of gives you that something to think about. And then consider your reality. Consider what is happening around you. Consider what your frequency is. Consider what is making your life to be that which is the best life possible. Like when you consider the no AI, like as I'm tapping into some of these civilizations that are inside of the earth, they don't have computers, they don't have cars, they don't have, phones, they don't have a way of communicating with one another. It is just like when you go back thousands of years and it was just living in the existence, and they do have a very high vibrational frequency and a high consciousness, but it's just living on the land, being on the land, communicating and being a part of one another. And they have, nope, because if they are going in and out with the places in the universe, then perhaps there's some sort of AI there. That's the best that I can do with that. Just kind of walking through the process and looking at what's on the earth plane and looking how it's all coming across. Okay, let's move on. What do you see with the upcoming federal elections in Australia? Australia, kind of like Canada, it feels like there's a big push for the negative. Those that are part of the negative control and manipulation, I'm seeing that there's a big push for that, because that's what humanity thinks is what they like. That's what they think is the norm. That's what they think is what they need to have. Australia needs to go through a big awakening. And it feels as if once they start seeing what's happening in the United States, because much of Australia doesn't like Trump. They've listened to the mainstream media. They've fallen into all of that rhetoric, and they don't see the energy. They don't see what's going on. They don't see all of this transition that he is bringing about to the government. They don't understand that there's been a corporation and that they're going back to the original republic. So all of this that's been going on feels to me as if they have no clue about that. They're very force-fed, and they believe what they're being force-fed. So in looking at the elections, it feels like it's more of the same. But this overlay that has been on humanity for so long, it is shredding. It is being peeled back. It is being removed. And so it feels to me, whenever I look at Australia and some of these countries, it just almost feels as if they're just going to one day awaken, and they'll have no memory that it was as bad as it was, and they'll all think that it was always in the new consciousness. Is that here now? No. Is it going to be here within the next 4 to 6 months? Perhaps, but not to the degree that I'm tapping into. That feels like it's maybe 6 months or a year out. But I feel that Australia will go through a big change in the next several months of awakening, and people will understand. It's going to begin with the vaccines. It's going to begin with them understanding that they were not in their best interest. It's going to understand when someone tries to shut them down again and they vehemently refuse. There'll be a lot of people that will say, okay, fine, get me my mask, let me stay home, because that's what's entrained. But there will be many, many, many others that will say, oh, no way. Nope, not going to do it, not going to do it. So my take on it is that Australia is awakening, and that there are many, many, many different pockets of you that are very strong and that are very vehement in I'm not going to go along with it. I want my independence. And so you guys are stronger than what you realize. And that is coming up more and more and more and more. So I do think that Australia is a beautiful place. I do think that it's filled with a very natural, organic energy. And I feel that that's going to come out. And that is what will be the prevalence in the days to come. I mean, months to come. So yes, this election may look like it's going to go towards the nefarious ones, and it may very well go towards the nefarious ones. But just like with Canada, it feels like even if it does happen, it's an illusion, it's a facade, and it's not going to stay long. Okay. Whew. Anything else? All righty. So change is here. Change is happening. Change is hard for some people. I know it is very hard for some people, but there is this underlying flow of light and love and compassion that is just integrating into everyone. So let that be what comes in and supports you. Let that be what comes in and helps you in moving forward. There is this awakening is not just one piece, one little bit here. It is this massive doorway that is opening up with this tidal wave of energy coming through it. It will affect every single nation on the planet. It will affect every bit of humanity. So just be open. Know it's coming. Know you're in the midst of it right now. And some people, I just had this image of some people surfing. So be the surfer, stay on the top of it, enjoy the ride, and know that nothing's been done by happenstance. Everything is very methodical. Everything is happening exactly as it needs to. And this is all a beautiful place. Thank you so much. Ansaluia. Greetings. It is I, Crystallia. Whew. As I stood in the energies with Brysentia and Albayon, it actually felt like there was a chaotic energy around them. What they've been speaking to you about, it feels as if it's stuff that has been given to you in many different ways, but yet they're verbalizing things that you may have heard about before, or maybe something totally new and different to you. It is very hard to understand dimensions and to have an expanded consciousness and have an expanded awareness when you're accustomed to thinking of things in a very linear way. So coming back to what is the vibrational frequency and the negative ones, then you've always referred to them as a lower vibration, as indeed they are. So just because that number may shift up and down and you're taking that number and plugging it into your reality, don't do that. Recognize that the light is always a higher vibrational frequency. Anything that has the light within it, be it through their consciousness, through their thoughts and beliefs, through the emotions they express, through the way in which they see the world, all of that is what makes an individual be of the light, be of a higher frequency, and be in a place that is supportive, not only for you, but for all of society. So don't get caught up in the minutia. Remember that there is so much more going on here than can be spoken about even in this time that we have together. Now, a couple of things that I wanted to mention is I noticed that there are more and more energies that are coming from the universal light into the earth plane. Brysentia spoke a little bit about portals, and portals can be a doorway that's between a very short and a very, not a big deal. But there are other portals that are massive that can take you out into the universe, can take you clear across your entire planet, and can take it can take you to places that are in your same place, but in a different vibration, a different consciousness, a different frequency. So be aware that nobody's going to be stepping through these things accidentally. Be aware that you have to have the exact right frequency, the exact right timing, and the exact right intention in order for that to happen. So I think that that is one of the things that's very important for you to remember. And I don't want anyone to step into fear thinking, oh, these portals are all over the place. I'm going to step through and I'll just be gone. And because it's not going to be like that. It's not going to be something like that. Now, I did want to also tap into what that person was speaking of before, and in terms of, is there a consciousness, is there a reality that does not have AI? Yes, it's where I came from. We do not have AI because we do not need it. We come from a place of consciousness, a place of living and existence where we don't really have much of a physical body. People can manifest it if they want, but it's more like just a state of consciousness. And in having a reality like that, some would say it is very, very, very advanced compared to what you have now. Some would say it's at a very high vibrational frequency compared to what you have now. So my take on it is that I don't see that happening on the earth plane, because your vibration is nowhere near what the vibration is that I came from. When Albayon was looking inside the earth at the people inside of the earth, and indeed that was much closer to the reality that I came from. However, still a lesser frequency because they have physical awareness, they have physical bodies, and I come from something that does not have a physical body. So there's so much information that is going to come out that is going to kind of blow your mind, as they say, because it's going to be very different than what you've ever thought it would be. It's going to bring in bits and pieces that may seem like they're nothing, but that are actually going to prove to be a very important aspect for why that took place. So be open to understand that as this change is taking place, I mean, Albayon said there's a lot of change. It's coming in fast, and it's coming in. You cannot stop it. It's this wave that cannot be stopped. So as you hear so many different things and so many people saying stuff, be it about one another, be it about an individual, be it about a product, be it about, just always go back to your own intuition and your own personal reality, because that's what's really going to be your common denominator, you could say, so that you can understand what it means here. And then you can look at this. Okay, well, I'm filtering that. And then you can look at this. Okay, I'm filtering that. And that's the way in which all of that information and all of that awareness is going through your own consciousness, and you have that understanding. Okay. Now, you are like when Albayon said, okay, they're not going to have the negative AI. 100% agree, but it's still here. It has not been fully removed from your planet. It is not growing at the rate that it was before, because the white light, the transitions that are taking place are negating it, and those individuals that have been perpetrating it are no longer in a place where they can do so. So yes, it's still there, and yes, it will be removed, and it will not be the major faction upon the earth plane, and it is not even as important as what it was multiple years ago. But it just wanted to say that because you still have it is why you still have some of the negative things that are going on the planet. And that once this full transition into the higher vibrational frequency takes place, once it's entrained in people, then you will see that it will no longer be here, and it will no longer be relevant. Okay. The individuals, the ships, the motherships, the individual ships that are coming in and out of your earth plane, they are undergoing a transition from what they used to be. They are now bringing in more of a higher frequency consciousness, and they are doing so with an intention or with a means of helping to anchor and stabilize the planet. The planet is actually very stable as I look at it. But when you think about it, like if you have this great big huge balloon and that balloon is suddenly going to explode and drop a lot of that high vibrational frequency, it can create an imbalance as it's being integrated. So my sense of it is that I see all of these ships, I see all of these people, I see all of these, some are coming from other planets in your universe, and they're there because maybe they've already gone through this, or maybe they're a part of your future. So they're seeding and they're putting into the humanity and the consciousness that which is associated with them, so that it will then help to not only anchor this big, huge balloon of energy that's been dropping, but it will also help to take people to that next level of consciousness. You will know where you came from out in the universe. You will know who your guides and light and the beings are that are here in support of you. And the open communication between you and them is going to become easier and easier and easier to take place. So, so there's fabulous changes that are ongoing. And I'm just very, very pleased at how well humanity is integrating all of this. It's a big time. It's a big transition. And I salute you for going through everything that you've gone through to get to this phase, because you're there. You are there. The energy is here. And now it's about, once it was anchored in as solidly as it has been, that was a lot of the trauma and the turmoil. So now that it's anchored in the way that it is, and we're not talking about one country, we're talking about every country. Now you can have the other energies come in that will seemingly make things go very, very quickly. That's why that individual that asked about Australia, that's why when we see Australia, we see that it's going to transition very, very, very quickly. And it just is a facade that they are not yet awakened. I personally think that Australians have a beautiful light energy, and many of them are filled with this light consciousness. As is true just about every country that I look into. So, so be aware of this job that you have done. Be aware of how well you have done, and you're there. You are there. Whew. Are there any questions for me? Can you please explain the Omniverse to me? So the Omniverse is, there's multiple different ways in which you can look at it. Some people, with the analytical mind that you have, you think of it as like you pull out this box and you've got these corridors or these separated energies in this box, and they're all linear in this way. The way that I see it, that's one way of perceiving it. The way that I see it is like a flower. At the center of that flower is the God consciousness. That's the God that created every universe. That's the God that is the source of everything. That's the God that is the unconditional love, the unlimited ability and potential. So then if you think about a flower, and you have the center of the flower and then the petals that go out. And so each one of these petals go out in different directions, and one universe that is filled with multiple different planets may be in a process of experiencing certain life realities. What has been going on in your universe and on your planet Earth has been about free will. There are others that never had free will. Well, how did they react to that? How did they respond to that? And were they more easily taken over when the nefarious ones came in? So there's multiple different lessons that were learned when you look at it from a universal perspective. And that's the universe that you're in. So then you follow another petal that goes out in another direction. And in that one, they have nothing but highlight. Okay, I'll talk about mine. We have nothing but highlight vibrational frequency. You couldn't even give it a number compared to what you are. But our universe, rather than it being multiple different planets that are experiencing things, there's just the one consciousness in all of that universe. And that one consciousness, everyone is linked into it. And we all work and live, and I mean that sense of family, that sense of community is unlimited. And that's something that I've noticed many of you here don't have that same feeling about, that same sense of. So then you may look towards another universe that again is off that main central of the God source, and maybe in that universe they have many different planets, even more planets than what you have here, and each planet is completely independent of one another, and there is no intergalactic that goes between the planets to connect them all together. And then when I look at another planet, I can see that intergalactic, like what you have here, but it's almost like your universe, but another million years or so in the future, that's already gone through that assessment, gone through that transition, gone through the pain and the suffering and the warfare that you've been through, and is now living at that higher vibrational frequency. So basically each and when you say universe, think about how big your universe is. It's huge. And so that also then takes you back to that God, so to God and to the source of all energy and of the source of everything, is limitless consciousness. I mean, I just named a few here, but I couldn't even give you a number to the number of universes there are that are off of that. So when you talk about the omniverse, omni meaning more than one, or the multiverse, more than one, it's various universes that are interconnected from the God source, but each one having different experiences, and then it all goes back into the God source. Your soul may be associated only with this universe. You may have nothing to do with those other universes. Other people have a soul that has chosen to live in multiple universes at the same time, and maybe that all goes through that person's consciousness. So your soul is your direct link into God and source, and then through that you have multiple different potentials of how to interpret things, how to live things, some of it done unconsciously, some of it done consciously. So what a great question. Thank you. And I hope now that makes it more understandable. All right. Anything else? I think I saw one on here. Something about timelines. Okay, there's the Omniverse. I didn't see it. Okay. I think it was someone asking about timelines. I think that kind of goes back to what we've already talked about in these various conversations this evening. Well, I think then that I will bring this to a close. Be very aware of just how much information is available to you. Be very aware of how much you may go down little rabbit holes or whatever it is. Remember to be in the space of yourself. Remember to be in the space of your soul. Remember to be in the space of expanded consciousness and vibration, because that's what's helping you ascend. That's what's helping you move through all of this in the way that is in the highest and best interest, not only for you, but for humanity. You've been through a very hard and challenging time, and there are still more to come, but you're at the end. Please know that 100% you are at the end. So hopefully if you get caught up and if there are problems, then you recognize, okay, we're going to get through this. We're going to work through this. We're going to take it step by step, but we're at the end. Just keep reminding yourself. Beloved, know that we three are always here for you. We love and support all of humanity, and we thank you for inviting us into your time, space, reality. Ansaluia. Whew. All right. Whew, well, that was interesting. Whew. This is Shelly coming back. Man, the energies tonight were just, I mean, a little bit of chaos because it felt like there were so many energies coming from so many different places. Not sure if that was the community or if that was the way they came in. But I feel as if Brysentia was really pushing our consciousness and pushing our mind to understand things that heretofore have been not understandable. And then Albayon with his like, oh, yep, here's what's going on. How cool. I think I might have heard something about that Republic thing, but I saw him in this room and it was definitely different than what it was before. And it was definitely a direct link, somehow a direct link back into that original Constitution. So that was very, very cool. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Please share your thoughts and reality with me. I love hearing your questions or your comments. Thank you. Bye-bye.